We're going to be discussing how to close dialysis fistula or graft access sites. One thing we do oftentimes is a fistulagram for, AV graft or fistula, where we access the actual, the actual graft slash fistula with our sheaths to do our runs and our interventions, and then we need to close these areas. And it's important to note that these are higher flow circuits, so we need to kind of have a good method of closure to prevent any unnecessary bleeding. This is just one technique that uses a purse string suture and something called a toggle device or torque device. People have different names for it, but I'll show you the technique, and this is one way that we can close these actual sites. So kind of the things that you will need is a small tegaderm, some suture. Using 2-O-ethylon works well for something like this. And then, you may use like the introducer from your sheath or a dilator, something that's not too large, but maybe, this is about a 7 French dilator here. And what you will do is you'll actually cut maybe to this length right here. And we will use this here in a little bit, and I'll show you kind of how that's used. So what you'll want to do, let's say this is our access site, this is what we're going to close up. We'll take our suture here and do a little purse string. And what I'm going to do is basically throw here, like this, here. We'll go right there. And I'll come around the other side here, like so. And at this point, what I'll do is I'll just put I call it a toggle device. I'll put this over here. Okay. And then what we can do is just cut our needle off and bury our sharps here. And at this point, I think what works well is to kind of do the purse string in the way that I have here, where your toggle device is over the top of where the direction in which the sheath is going. And I'll show you why that's advantageous here in a second. But basically what you'll do is you will tie this in kind of the normal fashion. My towel apparatus is kind of having problems here, but basically, on a patient it'll be a little bit more secure, but I'm just doing one-handed ties. So you're tying it underneath here. Okay, great. And then what you can do is you can just, trim your suture here. And now what you will do is you will get ready to tighten this toggle device as you pull out the sheath here. And the whole point is that this, as you twist this toggle device, you will tighten the suture. Now it's not completely tight because we still have to pull this out, but as you pull this out, you can kind of twist it and tighten it until you have no more bleeding. So what you will do is you'll get ready, and this is why it's advantageous to have this toggle device right over the area. If you put it behind here, it's hard to twist as you pull out, but basically you will get ready here to kind of twist as you pull this out, and you'll just go until there's no bleeding. So let's say there's still some oozing, we'll do another half twist, and you can see is that as I twist this, it tightens up the suture. So we can just go, maybe let's say we go until here, and we notice there's no bleeding. It looks good. One thing we'll want to keep in mind is kind of the next thing we're going to do is put a tegaderm on here. We want to make sure that this is in an orientation that is comfortable for the patient. So if this is their arm, let's say their arm is running along this way, we'll want to bring it over maybe this way so they can bend their arm and they don't poke themselves with this little toggle device. So let's say at this point it's good orientation. You can see that it's kind of tightened things up here as well too. And then all we have to do is take our tegaderm here, and then we can just secure it in place with the tegaderm. Okay. And then we're good to go. So depending on kind of what setup you have, some dialysis centers will be comfortable taking these out, but in a different video I'll show you kind of how we take these out. These can stay in for 24 to 48 hours just to make sure there's no issues with bleeding, and I'll show you in a different video how to take them out. But this is a very elegant way to close up those sites and to kind of tighten things appropriately, and then leave yourself something where you can kind of loosen and cut the suture easily as well too.